How's it going, folks? I'm Des with DesFit, and this is the Elite Justo Interactive Smart Bike Trainer. And if you're looking for a premium, no-compromise, direct drive bike trainer with nearly every feature under the sun, this should definitely be on the list of trainers you should be considering. So the Elite Justo now takes the spot as Elite's most elite direct drive bike trainer, coming with a slew of new features building on the success of their Diretto XR bike trainer. And I've been riding this Elite Justo for about the last 3 to 4 months, and in this video I'll be going over all those new features along with how easy it is to set up, what I think about how it rides in terms of the road feel, how it feels in erg mode for power-based workouts, as well as power accuracy, and just kind of how it's fared over the last few months of riding. So first off, the Elite Justo runs $1,199 in the US and then €999. So right there amongst other premium bike trainers like the Tacx Neo 2T and the Wahoo Kickr V6, actually just a smidge cheaper than those two. And they went with a completely new design with the Justo compared with the Diretto XR, where it has a more contemporary, almost industrial looking design to it. It's certainly a lot more minimalistic than the Diretto XR, and something that I also like about it is that it reduces the amount of plastic that's being used with the trainer. And then just like the Diretto XR, the legs fold up so you can store it away, but because of that reduction in plastic, it also takes up a little bit less space. And then just like the Diretto XR, it comes with a handle, but this time they kind of went with this soft leatherish handle sort of thing versus the integrated handle on the Diretto. And I really appreciate handles, by the way, for those of us who need to stash our trainer away after a workout, but I also tend to like them too just because I swap out trainers kind of often. So it's just a nice touch. One big difference though with the new Justo is that it now has these flex feet on the bottom of each leg, and what these are designed to do is provide a little bit of side-to-side give when you're riding, and this comes in especially useful for those long trainer rides where you don't really want to be in a completely static position the entire time. Having that little bit of side-to-side motion makes the ride feel a bit more natural, but don't worry, if you don't want that amount of side-to-side motion, they also include some other feet that don't have as much give. And then on the spec side of things, the Elite Justo can provide up to a whopping 2,300 watts resistance at 40 kilometers an hour, which I wasn't able to test that limit, by the way. And it also can simulate up to a 24% grade, which again, it's going to be hard to find places in Zwift that can even go up to that level. And then it also has a claimed power accuracy of plus or minus 1%. But in addition to that, it also has an auto calibration feature where you don't need to do any sort of manual calibration at all. And we'll see how accurate it is from day one straight out of the box to nearly 4 months later here in just a little bit. And then for connectivity, it has nearly everything under the sun from dual Bluetooth to ANT+ FEC, but in addition to that, it also has an option to hook it up to Ethernet. It does require an accessory though for the hardware connectivity, which is the same as the Wahoo Kickr V6, but when you do have this accessory, this is where you can get a more stable and consistent connection with your compatible indoor training software if you happen to experience connectivity issues. And then one more feature in regards to connectivity is that it has a Bluetooth bridge. So what you can do here is you can pair your heart rate monitor or your cadence sensor to the Justo itself, and what it can do is then combine that with the signal that's being broadcast out from the trainer all in just one channel. So that feature is going to be especially useful for all of us out there who use Apple TVs for our indoor training software that only have 2 available Bluetooth connections. And then for ride feel, it has a 6.2 kilogram flywheel versus the 5.1 kilogram on the Diretto XR, which is over 20% heavier. And what this does is that it increases inertia, which in turn translates to ride feel. I've always actually been a fan of the ride feel from Elite trainers, as I just feel it holds inertia well, and getting up to speed as well as coasting just kind of feels all really natural. But a new thing that can also enhance the ride feel are those new flex feet, and they really do work, by the way, by adding a little bit of side-to-side motion. It's not like you're rocking back and forth like a ship in the ocean or anything like that, but just enough to take off the edge and enhances the ride feel. And these are definitely different than Wahoo's Axis feet, which are designed to do the same thing, but you can't feel much of a difference at all with those feet, but you can actually feel a difference with Elite's flex feet. But again, if you don't want that motion, you can swap out these red flex feet with the black feet that they include in the box for a more static feel. Now, a huge portion of how good a trainer is, other than the accuracy and ride feel, is how loud a trainer is, and I find it to be quieter than the Diretto XR. The Diretto XR was good, not totally silent, but the Justo gets pretty darn close to virtually silent, and I actually think a part of that has to do with the fact that they don't have that large plastic outer casing on the Justo like they did on the Diretto, where I think that plastic casing could have actually been amplifying the sound. And then in terms of bike compatibility, the Justo will work with pretty much any road bike, mountain bike, or gravel bike out there with a 130 or 135 millimeter quick release axle or 12 by 142 through axle, and they include those adapters in the box with the Justo. And then they also have boost and super boost through axle adapters for 12 by 148 and 12 by 157 axles that are sold separately. The Justo comes with a Shimano cassette body where you can install anything from an 8-speed all the way up to an 11 or 12-speed Shimano road cassette, and then they also have additional cassette bodies that you can purchase purchase as an accessory for 12-speed SRAM XD drivers, Campy bodies, as well as 12-speed microspline Shimano mountain bike cassettes. But just note that it does not come with a cassette in the box. You'll have to purchase a cassette and install it yourself. Oh, and then another thing in regards to compatibility is that you can use the Justo with Elite's Sturzo steering plate, and then it also has a rotating axle. So if you're not using the Sturzo steering plate, you can also use it with their riser gradient simulator. And then yet another new feature to come with the Elite Justo is an easy start erg mode. So this is when you're doing an erg mode workout and you're cooking along with one of your intervals, and then suddenly the doorbell rings or nature calls, or hey, even one of those situations where we simply just need to shut it down because the interval was too much. It happens to all of us. And for those of us who have experienced that before, what happens is that when you go to resume the interval, it's basically like trying to push against a brick wall, trying to get the trainer back up to the prescribed wattage. So what the easy start erg mode feature does is it slowly ramps up the wattage over the course of about 2 to 3 seconds to kind of give your knees a break. All right, so all those features are great and all, and it does make the Justo fantastic from a feature standpoint, but if it's not accurate from a power standpoint, all of that may not matter. And just for recap, Elite claims a plus or minus 1% accuracy as well as auto calibration where you don't need to do any sort of calibration, so let's see how all that works out. So here's one of the first rides that I did all the way back into July, and well, you can barely even tell a difference here between the Justo and a pair of Vivera Asioma pedals. It's nearly identical with a very close average power as well. Now, average power is one thing, but now let's take a really close look and let's check out the first half of the workout, which was an erg mode workout on Trainer Road. Not really sure what to say here though, but that's pretty darn good. We do see, however, that on each sudden decrease in power, the Asioma pedals were a bit more sensitive to pick up that change, but other than that, this is basically exactly what I want to see. Really good stuff. Oh, and by the way, in regards to erg mode responsiveness and ride feel, I tend to really like how Elite trainers handled this, and the Justo performed really well here, where the responsiveness in regards to changing resistance is a nice balance, like 3 to 4 seconds, where it smoothly applies the resistance, even with larger changes in power. You can see here compared to a pair of Asioma pedals that the change is smooth enough that there really aren't any large spikes when the interval starts. And the Justo also does a really good job at maintaining that set power target as well as compensating if you go below or above that target. Like on this interval here, you can see that when I drop below the power target, it applied power smoothly so I could get back up to the target wattage and doesn't overshoot one way or the other. And then moving on to the Zwift portion of the ride now, again, nearly identical between the Justo and the Asiomas, like kind of a thing of beauty. However, I did want to point out the sudden increases of power here. So like this first one, it nailed it right around 550 watts as well as this one over here. But these sprints above 1000 watts, this first one came up about 70 watts high, and then the second one was about 60 watts high. And then if we take a look at another ride, this was a little bit better, where first we do see that these increases in power right around 500 to 600 watts, things are super solid again. But then if we look at this sprint, this was spot on right around 1000 watts with very little difference. However, on this sprint, it reported around 60 watts high. So basically, I saw that on some occasions, just with sprints over 1000 watts, it can report a little bit high. Not like crazy high or anything like that, but on a handful of them, they were a bit over. Now, in terms of the long-term accuracy of the Justo, let's fast forward quite a few months and many miles later, and here's another workout, and again, kind of hard to tell the difference. There was this maybe 2 to 3 section here where there was a little blip from the Edge 1030 that I was using with the Justo, and then in all fairness, there was this other blip here from the Enduro 2 I was using with the Asiomas, but no big deal really. But as you can see, the Justo still remains accurate after many months of hard riding. Oh, and then in regards to cadence, the Elite Justo measures cadence virtually, so here's circling back to that half Trainer Road, half Zwift ride. It was pretty good, but we do see a few moments here during some of the erg mode portions where cadence dropped a little bit low, but interestingly, a few moments during the Zwift portion of the ride where it had some momentary cadence spikes. So cadence not necessarily perfect, but what's nice is that you can pair a cadence sensor directly to the Justo if you'd like, using its sensor bridging feature. So if you've been a longtime viewer of my channel, you'll know that I've always been a pretty big fan of Elite trainers, and the Justo is no different. So this is a great trainer with all the new features like the easy start erg mode, power smoothing, the ability to plug it in directly to your home network, the increased power accuracy, as well as it being quieter. Well, this is just certainly a trainer that you should consider when it comes to a high-end interactive direct drive bike trainer. Anyhow, if you have any questions about the Elite Justo that I didn't cover in this video, make sure to leave those in the comment section down below. And on your way down there, if you found the information in this video to be useful, do me a favor, just quickly hit that like button and also subscribe to the channel for plenty more sports tech videos that are coming soon. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.